I'm moving to the US very soon. In this video, I just want to share some of the things that I'm most excited about related to sports cards for my move back to the US. For you guys who are in the US all the time, I think there's certain things you might take for granted about what the sports card market is like there. So in this video, I'm going to share the things about sports cards I am most excited to participate in once I'm back in the States. Let's get into this. So as I get into this, I should just mention, most likely it's going to be like mid-December when we come back. My wife is going to do her interview for her green card in just 2 weeks, and I don't see any reason why that should not work. This has been a 2-year process of getting prepared to go back to the US. The green card process is extremely long, and it's been really a frustrating process too, because because of COVID, there's been delay after delay. Usually it would take a long time, but this is 2 years. And one of the problems is when you are in the middle of the green card process, you're not allowed to go into the US on a different visa. So my wife has a 10-year US tourist visa, but because she is in the process of getting the green card, she's not allowed to go into the US on a tourist visa during this time. So it's big reason why we haven't been able to travel back to the US during this whole time is because we just simply couldn't, or at least my wife couldn't. So me and my kids could, but we didn't want to do that. So it's been such a long time since we've even been able to travel back there because of all this. So this light at the end of the tunnel of finally waiting for this green card to come through so that we can all go back to the States has been a long time coming. We've been living in kind of a hold mode for quite a while now, just waiting for this. So I'm extremely excited, and this has given me 2 years of mental preparation of what am I going to do when I get back, and beginning to make some concrete steps and concrete plans related to a lot of stuff, related to sports cards and related to a lot of other things in life. So anyway, the first thing I'm most excited about for when we get back to the States, related to sports cards, of course, I'm not going to talk, there's so many things I'm excited about, but related to sports cards specifically, since this is a sports card channel, the first thing is sports card shows. I already have a schedule worked out for what are some different shows on the West Coast. There's a show up in I'm moving back to Oregon, and there's not a lot of shows in Oregon. In the Pacific Northwest in general, there's a lot less card shows than there are in a lot of other parts of the country. My hometown, Eugene, doesn't have any. Portland, though, does have a monthly one. So I'm already planned on when I'm going to go to that one. Seattle has a couple each month as well. So I've already planned when I'm going to go to that one. I'm probably going to go to the Burbank card show in February. So if any guys are going to be there, I'll probably see you there. And I've got a lot of other plans. So that's one thing I'm extremely excited about, is just going to a card show, walking around a card show floor. If you guys go to those kinds of things regularly, maybe it's nothing special for you, but for me, I haven't been to a card show since forever, and I am extremely excited to just, even if I didn't buy anything, even if I didn't sell or trade anything, even just walking around and looking at whoa, there's a community of people who enjoy sports cards just like me. I've been kind of only connecting through a community through YouTube here, so I'm extremely excited to go to sports card show, and maybe I'll see some of you guys there. And that goes on to the second thing I'm most excited about, is actually making connections with some people that I have kind of YouTube connections with here. I'm extremely excited for the future of there's this weird thing about creating a YouTube channel where you begin to feel like you have friendships with some people here and there that you've never met in person, never talked to in person, but somehow you still feel kind of a friendship with. And I'm excited to maybe at National next year, or at some of the a Dallas card show or something like that, meet some people that I've made some connections with here, and then establish an actual friendship in real life. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Number 3 is local card shops. This is unique to the US as far as I know. There's not a lot of other countries, even places where sports cards are kind of a big thing, where local card shops are a thing. If you watched The Card Collector 2, he went to a card show recently in London, England, and there was tons of people there. It was a very vibrant community of sports card people, but he mentioned, and he interviewed some people where there's not even a single card shop in all of London. So even in a place as massive as that, as big as that, as a place where there's really a sports card community that's been emerging over the past few years, but they have no card shops. I think this is true in a lot of places you go to. I don't know for sure in Australia, but I suspect it's similar. There's a lot of people interested in cards. There's a community of people who buy and trade online. There's probably some card shows that happen in a couple of big cities, but I would be surprised if there's any local card shops there. And the same is true where I am here in China. Cards are huge here. And in fact, I would suggest that next to the US market, China probably has the second biggest card market in the world. but card shops really don't exist. There have been some. A friend of mine actually had one in Shanghai for a number of years, and he closed it. I don't know when, maybe 3 years ago. And there are other little ones that might pop up. Maybe some friends, just have a spot where they might get together in the big cities. But really, it's really pretty much non-existent, even in the big cities. Even in a place like China, which has probably the second most vibrant sports card, buying and selling market in the world. So I'm extremely excited to go to different card shows in my town and in other towns nearby. I'm probably going to create a series of videos just going through and exploring these card shows, these local card shops. If you watch Orlando over at A Collector's Dream, he does this sometimes, just real small card shops, goes through, just shows them, just to highlight, what's there. And I've always loved those videos. And part of the reason I like those videos is because I really enjoy card shops, even ones that are messy, even ones that are crammed, packed, even ones that probably would get claustrophobic if there's just a handful of people in there. I still love exploring those. I just think it's so fun. It's like a little treasure house, just within every little nook and cranny, maybe there's something you can find. I just find it so fun. So I'm extremely excited about that, just in general, going to local card shops when I'm back in the States. The fourth thing I'm excited about, now there's a few things I don't want to quite share yet because I do have some long-term kind of business plans related to sports cards, and I don't want to share too much here. I'm extremely excited though about building this business that I'm going to be building that I'll share more with in the future. I'm extremely excited about this. I've been in consultation with my partner for quite a while now, half a year or so, and we have pretty concrete plans, pretty concrete steps for what we're going to do exactly. And once we get going on that, I'm actually probably going to be starting another YouTube channel specifically for that business, because there's going to be a number of different things. I don't want to kind of jumble it up with what I'm doing in this channel here. So eventually I'm actually going to be starting a new YouTube channel with the name of that business. And I'll share some details about that just before we get started, and then more in-depth details once we actually get started. But that's the fourth thing I'm extremely excited about. A fifth thing I'm really excited about is, I have this idea that, because like I said before, there's not a lot of card shows in Oregon, one per month up in Portland, and that's even a couple hours away from where I am. And if you're in Southern Oregon or something, there's the closest one, honestly, is probably San Francisco, which is going to be it's going to take you an 8-hour drive even if you're down in Southern Oregon. It's not close. I like the idea of creating a card show in Eugene. I think it's kind of central. It's the central part of Oregon. There's a number of card shops up in Salem. There's a number of card shops over in Bend. There's a number of card shops in Eugene. There's a few down in Medford. But Portland is pretty far away for a lot of those places. Eugene's not necessarily super close. I mean, Salem, it's only 45 minutes away. Bend is maybe an hour and a half. Medford is maybe 2.5 or 3 hours, something like that. But it's more central than Portland for some of those people, and I think it's still close enough to Portland that people who participate in Portland kind of card shows might come down. So I feel like Eugene could be a good kind of central location for a number of different cities that might make it a little bit more convenient. So I'm excited to make connections with local sports card shop owners in these different towns, just to consult with them and see what's the possibility. Is there something we can do to support each other in that, so that, because I think it's beneficial for a number of different people around there. So I'm excited to try that. I know there've been some small efforts in the Salem and Albany area, and I know there's been some small efforts in the past down in the Medford area, but I kind of feel like they've been scattered efforts by this one person here, one person there. I'm excited about trying to kind of build a group, a community of people who want to support it together. I think it's hard for one person to sustain building a sports card show regularly on their own. I feel like it's much more natural, much more sustainable if you have a group of people who are all committed to it. And I feel like for a lot of these people, Eugene makes sense as kind of a central spot. So I'm eager to see the possibilities of that. I think it would be nice because I want to go to card shows regularly, and I will be traveling for them regularly. But I also would really like the idea of them coming to where I'm at as well, which I think will be fun. The sixth thing I'm really excited about is, looking at possibilities. If you watch Chasing Cardboard, or if you watch the 1 Million Cubs project, they kind of, they have two different approaches, but they're essentially the approach is to go out there and find bulk collections. For 1 Million Cubs, maybe it's bulk Goodwill lots, that he does a lot, or Chasing Cardboard, of course, it's finding collectors who want to sell their full sets. I'm actually going to be trying to explore this a little bit as well. I want to go in and, just see the possibilities. I think I'd be be so much fun to go in and just explore and connect with people who have these big card collections, kind of like what they're doing in Chasing Cardboard. I don't think I'll do anything at the scale of what they're doing or the frequency of what they're doing, but I like the idea of trying to find a few in my local area. I just think that would be a lot of fun to explore and to figure out how to do that. So that's another thing I'm very eager to get going on. The next one is vintage. So if you've noticed on this channel, the only time I talk about vintage is in relation to historical videos. And that's mostly because I don't have the opportunity to buy vintage cards living in China. If you look on the Card Hobby, which is the main kind of Chinese auction site for sports cards, vintage cards never pop up. Maybe very, very rarely, once every few weeks, there might be one single vintage card that pops up. Maybe because there was a period of time where there was a number of this it's like these mystery graded card pack things where there's gonna be one graded card in there and you don't know what it is, and oftentimes it's a vintage card. Those had a period of time where they were popular on Card Hobby, and then after that there was like a single vintage card that would pop up for auction every once in a while, but it's very rare. And because the supply is so low, when it did pop up, if it was a name that had any recognition, it would always go for very expensive. So I was not really buying any of these. I didn't get too many vintage cards. So I'm very eager to be able to participate in the vintage card market again, both as a collector and as somebody trying to find kind of arbitrage opportunities or kind of investment opportunities. I really like vintage. It's fun. The historical aspects of the sports card hobby are some of my very favorite things, but I feel like being here, I've kind of been disconnected from that aspect of the sports card collecting experience. So I'm eager for that. The next thing I'm really eager to get going on a little bit more is having more clarity about what my personal collection is actually going to be. Like I said, I've kind of known for about 2 years that we're on this path to leaving here. So I have been amassing some cards for my PC, but I've been trying to be really limited in that, knowing full well that anything I'm collecting for my PC is going to have to be shipped across the world, and that's going to cause some complications. It's going to be expensive. So I've really been limiting the number of cards that I'm getting for my PC. There's some cards that pop up on Card Hobby that I don't think I'll have an opportunity to get when I'm back in the US so easily or so cheap. So I have picked up some for my PC, but generally I've been buying cards that I'm planning on sending to COMC and things like that, just because I know that I'm trying to get rid of stuff. Everything else we have too. Right now I'm going through my books and figuring out which ones, if there's a few that I want to send back to the States through the mail, if there's some I want to give away, if there's some that are just really not worth doing anything with. I'm doing that same thing with books, getting rid of books and everything else in life. I'm trying to figure out right now, trying to whittle down all of the stuff that we've accumulated during our last 15 years over here, and it's a lot of stuff. So sports cards has been part of that whittling down process, where I've been trying to get rid of as stuff, even the things that I thought were going to be part of my PC. I've been sending them off to COMC just with the expectation that, okay, I like this card, I want this in my PC, but for now I'm going to send it off to COMC and sell it, and then at some point in the future when I'm back in the States, I will accumulate it again, I will get it again. So I'm eager to start to see, what is my PC going to look like. One thing that I like about that is, because I've been whittling down things, it's been getting my mind to focus a little bit more on what do I actually want to keep. Sometimes I would bid on stuff that, from players I like, from teams I like, from players I collect, and then I would get it, and then I would look at it and be like, nah, I don't need this one. And then I would end up putting it in the pile of stuff that I was going to send to COMC. So I think this process of kind of like filtering through my mind, what is my PC? What exactly do I want to define my PC as, has been a nice process. But it's been just in the mind. So once I actually get to the States, I'll be able to actually start putting together what it is. And that goes on to this next point that I'm extremely excited about, that's going to be related to this, is going through my old sports cards that are sitting in my parents' attic and I haven't seen in at least a decade. I think, most of them are going to be all from, there's a few from the late 80s, a few baseball from the late 80s, because I did start collecting baseball cards in the late 80s. I think I might have like a complete set of some early, I don't even remember if it's like Donruss or something baseball. I can't even recall now. I can picture the box in my mind. I have a full set of those. But most of the cards, like I did start collecting in the late 80s, but during the late 80s and the early part of the 90s, it was just a tiny little bit. It was really like the 93-94 basketball season when I started collecting heavy. And so I have a lot of 93-94, 94-95, and 95-96. Those 3 years in particular, when I was a kid, were my 3 deepest years. So I have so many. I don't even know how many cards from those years, a little bit before and a little bit after, but those 3 years especially. So I'm extremely excited to go through and see what I have. I remember when I was in college, I came back and visited my parents, and I did a period of time where I bought a Beckett magazine, and I looked through like some of the cards just to see a sense of their value. But again, that was back in like early maybe 2002 or something like that. And then I did another time when I went back and visited, I just kind of glanced through briefly. I didn't look up values or anything, just glanced through some of the ones that I had put in top loaders back in the day, which at the time were the cards that were the most valuable ones in the batch. Not a whole lot of valuable stuff. I mean, I was just a kid collecting, so I didn't have a lot of like really valuable stuff, but I had a number of like nice ones, at least decently nice ones. So I'm extremely excited to go through and see what that is, because when I went back through them again, the last time was more than 10 years ago. At that point, I didn't have the kind of knowledge that I have now. I was just checking to see what I had. I wasn't jumping back into sports cards fully. I just wanted to see what I had. So I kind of knew a little bit about what the different things were, but not too deep. So now I feel like I've been gaining so much more knowledge over the past couple of years, and as I've been getting back into them again in a more deep way, where I'm extremely excited to go through all of those and figure out, what's gonna, again, part of this is what's gonna be my PC, because there's too many cards in there and they're not all gonna be part of my PC. I have so many Nick Van Exel cards, and I don't think I'm gonna collect all of them, but I want to find the key ones, the ones that like from my childhood that spark a memory, that have a deeper meaning. Those are definitely gonna be part of my PC, and then I'll try to figure out what to do with the rest, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm extremely excited to look through my old cards. That'll be so much fun. And in another related one, just, my best friend from when I was a kid, he also has a similar kind of like big old boxes and boxes of sports cards, because we collected together a lot, and he hasn't really gone through them either in the last 20 years. So I'm excited to go through with him. Is a friend of mine who's, like the kind of friend who's I'm still going to be hanging out with when, we're 80 years old. So I'm extremely excited to go through with him and see what his cards are, just for the same reasons I'm excited about going through my own collection. I think it'll be a lot of fun to go through with him on his collection and let him know, what he has, because he hasn't really touched cards in 20 years. So I think it'll be fun to kind of share what I've been learning with him, and to see what his cards were. He's got a huge Muggsy Bogues collection, so I've been looking for Muggsy Bogues autographs and stuff here and there. The one card that I did acquire during that big long period of time when I wasn't collecting sports cards was actually a gift from him. It was a Nick Van Exel in-person autograph card, because when I was a kid, him and I would trade all the time, and any Muggsy Bogues card I would give to him either for free or for like a really good deal, and he would do the same with all of his Nick Van Exel cards. And so, Nick Van Exel and Muggsy Bogues were kind of like the two key people in our collecting experience as friends. That particular Nick Van Exel card with an autograph on it is one, without a doubt, going to be a key part of my PC. I'm not going to get rid of that one by any means. And I want to get him kind of a Muggsy Bogues card with the same kind of mindset, where even if he doesn't collect any cards at all, that one Muggsy Bogues autograph will kind of symbolize, this childhood experience and this kind of friendship and everything. I think that would just be a fun gift. So I'm going to get him one of those. So anyway, that's about it. I mean, there's so many other things I'm excited about outside of sports cards. It's been a long time since I've lived in the States. In my entire adult life, really, I've never lived in the States. There's going to be some cultural kind of, I know I'm going to have culture shock all over the place, because one thing that's amazing to me is every time I've gone back to just visit, I always have culture shock. I never have it when I come back to China, because I've lived my entire adult life here, really. And so there's so many things that are going to be like I'm going to be like a kid figuring things out when I'm back to the States. I don't know how anything works. Because I've never really been an adult there, I've never done the most basic kind of things. Like, I don't know how to go pay my water bill. Like, there's so many things that I'm going to have to learn, so it's going to be funny, because I'm of course I'm a native US person. I was born there, I grew up there, but there's so many things that you don't experience as a child, as a youth. I left the country when I was about 23, right after graduating from college. So in college I was kind of a adult age-ish sort of thing, but in college it's different. Like, I was living in dorms, I didn't know how to pay rent. It was a different kind of thing. And then after that, really, I've been out of the country ever since. So there's a whole lot of things I'm gonna have to just figure out, like, what is this? What is all this about? I thought I knew this place because I'm from here, but I'm gonna be like a kid trying to figure out everything, which will be fun. I kind of actually enjoy that sort of adventure type of thing. Even moving to China, my favorite times in China were always the first few years where everything was an unknown and everything was confusing to me. That was actually some of my favorite times. I just like trying to figure things out and living in a life where everything is you don't like just slip into a comfort zone. I actually find that nice. I don't like slipping into a comfort zone and having everything so easy. It's not comfortable for me. I mean, it's called a comfort zone, but for me, I get uncomfortable in that kind of comfort zone. I'm eager for kind of challenges. I'm eager for different things in life that I have to figure out. And moving to the US for me, though it's returning home, in many ways it's like moving to a new country because I haven't lived there for so long. There's gonna be so much to learn and so much to experience, and I think it's a nice perspective. I think when you're outside of your own country for a long time, you gain a lot of insight into your country, the good things and the bad things about your hometown. You can see it more clearly, at least for me, and for a lot of other people I've heard the same kind of thing. So I'm excited to go back. I think there's a lot of things that are going to be hard. The hyper political atmosphere of the US right now is really off-putting. There's other things that are going to be challenging. My kids going to the public school, the way the public school systems are working right now it's going to be not the greatest situation necessarily. There's other things I'm not so excited about, but there's also certain things about living in America that are absolutely wonderful that when you're there you don't realize because it's just part of your everyday life. And so I'm also really excited about those kinds of things as well. I do think it's a nice perspective because a lot of people get caught up. They get so used to everything. They think that's the way life just is, but it's not necessarily that way in most of the world. So when you're away for a while and you come back, everything, you see everything a little bit more clearly, again, at least for me. So I'm excited about all of that. So anyway, that was it for this pretty long video. This turned into much longer than I thought it would be, but I hope you enjoyed it. It's just fun rambling. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.